in. Today we're looking at something that, well, it sounds a bit like a joke collection, but it's actually fascinating.
Hmm.
Bizarre laws from all over the world.
Exactly. And we've got some great sources here, including this one piece where someone actually, tried to live by some of the weirdest ones for a whole day.
Oh, wow. Okay, so our mission for this deep dive isn't just like listing funny rules. We want to get into the why.
Right. Why do they exist? How do they connect to, say, culture or history?
And what does it actually feel like when these quirks meet real life today?
Yeah, it's a real deep dive into context, history, and some logic that might make you scratch your head a bit.
Let's start right there with the why.
Ah.
Because, I mean, looking at some of these, they just seem totally random. Are they just like legislative leftovers?
Well, what the sources suggest is that even the really odd ones usually aren't completely arbitrary. They nearly always tell you something, fundamental about the place that made them.
Like what, their values or something?
Could be values, yeah. Or maybe a reaction to a specific thing that happened way back when, or just the situation at that particular time.
So not just mistakes then.
Not usually, no. Some are actually pretty practical, dealing with stuff like safety or hygiene. Others are tied right into cultural traditions or morals that, might seem really outdated or strange if you're looking from the outside today.
Okay, so context is absolutely key here. Take that away, and the law just looks nuts.
Exactly. A rule that makes zero sense to us now might have been super important a century ago because of some specific problem they were facing.
Right.
And then you've got laws that are just so sort of baked into the local culture that they're normal for people there, but just baffling if you're visiting.
And that was the whole point of the experiment our source did, wasn't it? Not just ticking boxes for following rules, but trying to dig into that why.
Yeah, and seeing how these old rules actually hold up when you try to apply them now.
That sounds, well, challenging.
It definitely forces you to think about how your own idea of normal is just, one version of it.
Okay, let's get into that simulated day. What were some of the first strange things they had to deal with, like in the morning?
Okay, first up, Japan. Specifically, certain areas in Japan. Get this. No selling hot drinks from vending machines in the summer.
Wait, Japan, the place with vending machines for everything. Why ban hot drinks? Especially in summer, maybe people still want hot coffee.
Apparently, the reasoning our source found points mainly to public health. The idea is to help prevent heat stroke during those really hot, humid Japanese summers. So encourage people to grab cold drinks instead, stay hydrated.
Okay, when you put it like that, it actually sounds pretty sensible, doesn't it? How did the simulation work out?
Well, obviously they weren't in Japan, so they just made a rule. No hot drinks from any kind of vending machine or dispenser. So their usual morning hot coffee
Became iced coffee.
became an iced latte, yeah. They said it wasn't, awful, but they definitely missed that warm morning ritual. It's a simple rule based on a real concern, but still it kind of messed with their routine.
Huh. It's funny how a public safety thing can feel like a personal hassle. What was next on the morning agenda?
Next, we hop over to Denmark. This one's a bit more personal. You can generally only use government-approved baby names.
Whoa, hang on. The government has a list, and you have to pick from it.
Mostly, yeah. There's an official list parents are expected to choose from. And it's not new. This goes back to the 19th century.
Why? What was the original reason?
Standardization, basically. Keep naming conventions clear for official records, avoid confusion, maybe prevent names that could cause the kid problems later on.
So forget about calling your kid like Moonbeam or Pilot Inspector.
Definitely not on the approved list, according to the source. So the person simulating this, they actually looked up the Danish list online and tried picking a name for a hypothetical baby.
Yeah.
They settled on Frisia, said it felt, classic, fit the culture.
But how did it feel to have that restriction?
Oh, definitely restrictive. I mean, the government weighing in on your kid's name, that's pretty personal.
Yeah.
But again, understanding the history, needing clear records back in the day made the reason make sense, even if the rule itself felt a bit much now. It gets you thinking about that line between, personal freedom and state organization.
Okay, so morning was a surprisingly logical drink ban and a very bureaucratic, very personal naming rule. What about midday? Did things get weirder?
Midday definitely brought the focus onto, underwear. First stop, Thailand. Apparently, it's illegal to leave your house if you're not wearing any underwear.
Okay, that one sounds properly bizarre straight off the bat. What on earth is the logic there? Public decency.
The source suggested it's actually less about what we'd think of as public indecency and more about a basic standard of personal hygiene and just general social norms in the community.
Hygiene.
Hmm.
Interesting angle. How do you even simulate following that?
Yeah.
Just remember.
Pretty much. The person just became super conscious of it, like
Yeah.
double checking before going out the door. They said the hygiene reason was sort of understandable, but yeah, enforcement seems like a total mystery.
Right. How would anyone know?
Exactly. So it wasn't a big deal to follow, but it was just this constant, slightly absurd little check running in the back of their mind all day.
Got keys, phone, wallet,
Yeah.
underwear.
Ha.
And wasn't there another underwear-related one around midday?
There was, yeah. Kind of the flip side. This one's from Australia.
Yeah.
It's illegal to just wander around in public in your underwear, even if it's not, like, indecent exposure, technically.
So Thailand says you must wear it leaving the house. Australia says you can't wear only it out in public. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the rationale down under?
This one seems more about community standards, public order, basically trying to keep things feeling, appropriate for the neighbors.
The classic, don't want to see Dave mowing his lawn and his wife fronts rule.
Something like that. So the simulation was just resisting the urge to, say, pop out onto the porch in boxers, making sure to be fully dressed, even for a quick step outside.
And the feeling.
The source described it as feeling like a cousin to the Thai law, but focused outward on the community vibe rather than inward on personal hygiene. Understandable, maybe, if you think about neighborly harmony, but also a bit of a buzzkill if you just wanted to chill out.
It's really fascinating how these different places tackle similar ideas, like dress code,
Yeah.
but for totally different reasons. Hygiene, community vibes, history. Okay, what about the afternoon?
Afternoon brought probably the most famous one, and the one the source found most challenging conceptually. Japan's ban on people with tattoos in many traditional onsens, the hot springs.
Oh, yeah, the onsen tattoo ban. I've definitely heard about that. It causes issues for tourists, right? What's the actual background?
It's pure history. Tattoos in Japan were strongly associated with the Yakuza, the organized crime groups. And onsens are meant to be these really pure, peaceful places. So the ban was basically a way to keep known or suspected Yakuza members out to preserve that tranquil atmosphere.
So it wasn't about the ink itself, but who it represented historically. How did they simulate that one?
Yeah.
Can't exactly build an onsen.
No, so they went to a local spa that had a strict no visible tattoos policy. The person had a small tattoo on their wrist, so they just covered it with a bandage. Easy enough to do.
But the feeling was different.
Oh, yeah. Complying was simple, but the reason and the implications really hit home. It just threw that clash into sharp relief.
The clash between.
Between this rule rooted in fighting crime decades ago and today's world where tattoos are, for many people, just fashion or art. The source talked to spa staff, reflected on it, and just felt how outdated it seems now, even though you understand the history.
Yeah, I can see that. Must be really frustrating for travelers or even Japanese people with tattoos now.
Totally. And the sources we looked at acknowledge that tension. You hear arguments about it being discriminatory and counter-arguments about preserving tradition. It's a real flashpoint between traditional culture and modern global norms.
So after this whole simulated day, wrestling with vending machines and underwear and tattoos,
Yeah.
what was the overall vibe? Exhausting.
Surprisingly exhausting, yeah. That's what the source said. Not like physically tired, but mentally drained from just the constant low-level awareness, having to think about all these rules that are totally outside your normal life.
I can absolutely imagine that. Constantly checking yourself. Am I doing this right? Is my tattoo covered? Am I wearing pants?
Right. And the exhaustion wasn't just from following the rules. It was from trying to process the why behind them. The hot drink ban, okay, minor hassle, but you appreciate the public health angle in hot places. The underwear rules, they seem funny at first, but then you think, okay, hygiene and community standards, those are things societies do care about, even if they express it weirdly.
And the Danish name thing, even just thinking about it, must have sparked thoughts about personal choice versus government control.
Exactly. And the tattoo ban, well, we said that felt like the biggest mental hurdle, not because covering a tattoo was hard, but because it just slammed home that conflict between history and now and raised real questions about tradition versus being inclusive.
It sounds like it was a really unique way to sort of experience a culture, not just see it, through his rule book almost. These aren't just trivia facts. They're like cultural DNA.
That's a great way to put it. They really are. The Japanese vending rule tells you something about their public health approach. The Thai underwear thing hints at ideas about personal responsibility, maybe.
Yep.
Denmark's names point to order and clarity.
Australia's dress code about community harmony.
And the onsen ban is like a living fossil of this past struggle with organized crime.
And the biggest takeaway, reading through the source material, the thing that really jumped out at me was realizing that however bonkers these laws seem to us, for the people living there, they're just, well, the rules,
Mhm.
either they made sense when they were created or they're just so embedded now that they're part of the background noise. Just normal.
It's such a clear reminder that normal is totally relative, isn't it? Depends entirely where you are.
Out of everything they tried to follow in that simulated day, did the source mention one law that surprised them the most?
Yeah.
Like really threw them?
Yeah, they did. They singled out the Japan onsen tattoo ban.
Really? Even knowing the historical reason?
Yeah, apparently it wasn't just knowing the history, but encountering the reality of the strictness of the enforcement in such a culturally important space. The idea that a tiny, completely harmless tattoo could actually stop you from participating, that felt really jarring.
I see. So the practical impact felt kind of disproportionate to the original reason in today's world.
Exactly. They used the phrase out of touch even while acknowledging the history. It was about how the law lands on someone now, maybe more than why it started.
So wow, trying to live by these bizarre laws for a day sounds like it was genuinely enlightening. A bit funny, a bit frustrating maybe, but mostly really eye-opening.
Yeah, you definitely get a different appreciation for how laws and culture are totally intertwined. They shape each other.
They really do. It's not just dry legal text. It's a story about a place.
A shortcut, almost, to understanding what a society values or used to value.
Absolutely. And it really makes you pause and think, doesn't it? What does hearing about all these unusual laws make you, listening right now, think about the concept of normal? Or maybe what are the hidden whys behind the rules you follow every single day without even noticing?